Alright, we are back with more Rise of Shadows card reviews. This time we're taking a look at Shaman. Once again, just doing a quick overview of everything, and if you do want to check out any of the other classes, definitely check out the channel, because we got all of them. First card here, Witch's Brew. I really like this artwork, just a bunch of junk. A bunch of junk in a pot. It's a 2 mana, restore 4 health, repeatable this turn. So I assume that is very similar to Echo? In fact, I'm unsure why they just didn't make this an Echo card. Yeah, so for 10 mana, we can restore 20 health, which is the same as Forbidden Healing, and Forbidden Healing was a tremendous card. Obviously, we get a bit more flexibility with this, because we can heal and then play something afterwards. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. If there is a controlling Shaman deck out there, would love to have this in there as a healing effect. We do lose Healing Rain, which has actually been one of the better Shaman healing spells for quite a while. I think this makes for a good replacement. Up next, we have Mutate, with a 0 mana Shaman spell. Transform a friendly minion into a random one that costs 1 more. So this is just straight up evolve a minion. It's a 0 mana unstable evolution that does not stick around. I'm not too sure how good this is. One of the plus sides of unstable evolution is it's scaled really well. Basically meant that at some point you could just decide, if you had 10 mana, totem, make it an 8-drop. And that was very good. We also, cards like Evolve that evolved your entire board really incentivize you to play those type of tokening effects, or get a bunch of minions that maybe were 2 cost or 3 cost, but had battle cries, and then you evolve them hopefully into a minion that had better stats. I don't know how good Mutate is going to be. Very, very, very low impact for an individual spell. Be wary of that. Next, Soul of the Murloc. 2 mana. Give your minions Deathrattle, summon a 1/1 Murloc. So unfortunately we don't have the Murloc quest anymore. So it's a little bit unfortunate. This is very similar to the Primal Talismans or whatever. They gave them all Deathrattle, summon a totem. Although that could lead to situations where you had a bunch of 0 attack minions on the board and really affected your ability to be aggressive. Making these 1/1 Murlocs both synergize as well with cards like Murloc War Leader and the other Murloc buff cards. But also lets you be a bit more aggressive with them. Of course, Bloodlust is still around. We still have the Stormbringer as well. So I think that this card could actually be pretty good. Gives the Murloc deck resiliency to board clears, which is one of its biggest weaknesses. So I like it. I like Soul Murloc. Next, we have Underbelly Angler. Look at this guy. Fearsome. 2 mana, 2/3. Excellent stats. After you play a Murloc, add a random Murloc to your hand. Oh, that's pretty delicious. Pretty scrummy. I like the idea that we can pair this with cheaper Murlocs later on into the game. Random Murlocs are, I think, better than most people think, just because oftentimes in Murloc-style decks, you don't necessarily need high power. You just need more pieces. You just want to play a bunch of things, hit that Bloodlust, or hit those War Leaders, and just kind of crush your opponent. So any Murloc card that gives us more resources, lets us compete longer in the game, I think is really good. And I think Underbelly Angler will be a big part of the deck, not only because of its effect, but that body though. I like it. Next, Scargill. Ooh, this card's pretty nasty. 4 mana, 4/4, so once again, pretty good stats. Your Murlocs cost 1. So all of our War Leaders, all of our Cold Light Seers, all of these cards are going to cost 1. So the turn after you drop Scargill on turn 5, if you have 5 Murlocs, you can smash them into play. Obviously going to be a really big part of any Murloc deck. Yeah, I love it. I love Murlocs. I love Murloc decks. And I think Shaman has been one of my favorite Murloc decks as well. So really excited that we're going to see a proper tribal Murloc deck. Up next, Muck Morpher. Muck Morpher. This is for you, Morph. 5 mana 4/4 Battlecry. Transform into a 4/4 copy of a different minion in your deck. So this is probably very good with Deathrattle effects. This is very good if you just have some specific cards that you, specific type of effects that you want. You know, we talk about Malagos, for instance. This card, as long as you don't draw that Malagos, is a 5 mana Malagos. Even though it's a 4/4, I mean, could be very high impact. And there's plenty of other cards like that. So I think this is going to be a pretty big combo enabler. As long as there's some effects out there that are similar enough where, you know, you're not completely dead if you draw that one Malagos or something. Could be very, very interesting. Delicious. Also could have potential applications with the mutate, the evolve effects, because I imagine because it only changes the stats, you'll keep the mana cost. So if you did turn into a Malagos, you could then mutate it into a 10 mana minion, which might come up, who knows. But yeah, definitely a card to keep an eye out for. Muck Morpher, big combo enabler. Next we have the Walking Fountain, 8 mana, 4/8, Lifesteal, Rush, Windfury. Corpse Taker's not in the format anymore, so this isn't the one Corpse Taker enabler you can play in your deck. I like that it has an immediate impact on board with the Rush. It can kill 2 things with the Windfury, big booty as well, so we can probably get some good trades in, and it's got Lifesteal. Like, this might actually be, one of my big problems when we did a lot of budget decks was that we could almost never do a control deck, because ultimately a lot of the control finishes are legendary. And if you can try and kill people with North Sea Krakens, and you can try and kill people with 8 mana, 8/8 Deathrattle, restore 8 life guy, deranged alchemist or whatever. But they just weren't good enough. This might be good enough as a common finisher, because it can come down, stabilize the board, maybe you can back it up with a taunt or something, and then you can, I mean, this will kill someone pretty quickly, especially with Rockbiter weapon, especially with maybe Lackey buffs or something like that. This could be real strong. I like it. It's also an elemental. Obviously you've got your synergies there as well. Next, Sludge Slurper. That's my nickname in high school. Say 1 mana 2/1. Battlecry, add a Lackey to your hand. Overload 1. That Overload, I think, is really important. It's also a Murloc. There's a lot of things going on here. Overload synergies, Murloc synergies, Lackey aggressive synergies, also lots of battle cries. All of the Lackeys, of course, have battle cries. So there's a lot here. Do I like it on turn 1? Not really. I think it's a weak 1-drop. However, we'll give you a Lackey, which you can, of course, deploy next turn. So even if you have 1 mana, it's still okay. But I really like this as like a turn 3, turn 4 play, where you're like a Sludge Slurper, get the Lackey that gives you Rush, give this thing Rush, trade it in, or maybe get the one that gives you a spell. You discover a cheap spell. Do some stuff with that. So Sludge Slurper, yeah, I think this card is maybe innocuously strong. And once again, just really enthused to play some Murlocs. Up next, Swamp Queen Hagatha. Once again, this card was spoiled very early on. A little bit complicated. 7 mana 5/5 Battlecry. Add a 5/5 horror to your hand. Teach it to Shaman spells. So what will happen there is, I think you get to discover Shaman spells twice. And you pick those 2 things, and then that horror on Battlecry will cast those spells. So this actually has a lot of applications. Just, you know, at the very least, we talked about Bloodlust and Stormbringer, both super strong options for aggressive decks. Obviously, teaching about Bloodlust to this horror could be great, especially if they don't kill the Swamp Queen Hagatha next turn, even though they're pretty likely to because of the weak body. But you can also get spells like Voltaic Burst and the one that summons the wolves. These other things where you can potentially, you know, summon a bunch of things and then bloodlust them, or summon a bunch of things and then transform them all. We also have, of course, Witch's Brew as a new heal effect. We've got Lightning Storm. I think Lightning Storm is always going to be a great option for teaching it to the horror. And I think my initial thought with this card was it really depends on how many targeted spells there are in the format. But yes, I love Swamp Queen Hagatha, and I'm looking forward to teaching some sweet spells to my horrors. And the last card here is Hagatha's Scheme, a 5-mana spell, deal 1 damage to all minions, upgrades each turn. Really interesting kind of risk-reward situation. I think because of the existence of Lightning Storm, I think that makes this card quite good, because if you have Lightning Storm and Hagatha's Scheme in your hand, you can usually rely on the Lightning Storm to clear things off, buy you some time, hopefully upgrade that scheme to, you know, 3, 4, 5 damage, where it can basically play as Volcano, because we do lose Volcano. And also, you know, if you have this in your opener, at some point it's just a 5-mana Twisting Nether. It will just kill everything. But I think it's a really cool, really interesting option for Shaman. You know, we also have Haunting Visions in the format as well, so you can use your Haunting Visions to potentially discover this and then play something else and just keep this ticking up. Really cool. I hope that a lot of these scheme cards add some nice interplay and choices to playing Hearthstone. Make it a bit more interesting. Regardless, that's all the Shaman cards here. Join me next as we take a look at the Warlock cards. Bye-bye.